Hi, welcome back to PracticalStudent.com. In this series of videos we'll be looking at the 2007 Ordinary Level project, which is a vintage car. You can see the picture of it here in front of you. There's some difficult parts in it. The first part is quite tricky to mark out. These can be tricky to bend, the mudguard type features, and they're all one piece. The design feature, you have to design a steering wheel and steering wheel support, and that's it. And in terms of electronics, there's a switch here which is wired to a motor underneath, and we have a chain driven back axle. The wheels are wooden, so those are bought and we won't be making those. I have them. And the only other thing you'll need then, it will say, is piano hinge. This bonnet will flip up and it's piano hinge attaching it to the windscreen here. Other than that, it's not too difficult a project. A little bit of bending in it that's a little bit tricky at times, but nothing too difficult. So might as well get started with part one. So here we have the working drawing for part one. As you can see, there are a lot of holes in it which have to all be marked out for it. I think there's 18 in total, although I'm not 100% sure. It's a little bit different in that there's part of it protruding up and down, so we have a section missing here and here. I'm going to start marking out from this bottom right hand corner. Bending it, we have to bend this front curved section up in relative terms to these three sections, the two sides and the back, which have to bend down. So I'll be putting those bend lines on the back side of the piece after I've cut it out, and we'll leave the bend mark here so that we can bend it up. To bear that in mind sometimes when you're marking things out. So we're going to get started, and we're going to try and take in sections like this section first, this section, and the end. So I'll move this a little. Now we see there's a center line here, and this is important. We're told that from this bend line up to this edge is 14 millimeters, but we're not told how far it is from the bend line down to the bottom edge. But because we have the center line, we can see that up here it's 8 for that same section. So we know that this distance from here, the bottom left corner of our metal, up to this line is 8. So we're going to mark out 8, then 14 up from that, then 70, but we're going to mark the 35 in the middle, and 14 and 8 first of all on the right hand side. So I'm going to come up 8, plus 14 is 22, plus 70 is 92, plus 14 is 106, plus 8 then is 114. I also want to mark the 35 between these 2 points, and there we go. Now I'll be able to T-square some of these, and then I'll want to use a ruler for the others, because the T-square won't reach the whole way, but it should reach far enough for these. So I'm going to T-square that line across. This one doesn't need to go the whole way. This one is the bend line here, so we probably need it just about there. And this one goes all the way across, and the center line goes all the way across, and we need this top one just here. So I'll do that one as well. Now for the center line, I'm going to measure up the distance here. Which is 57. Just double check. I'll mark 57 up here as well. It should be 8 plus 14 plus 35. And I'm going to join those two with my ruler. I also want to do this line long as well, and we know that's 8 plus 14 up. So 8 plus 14 is 22, and I can join those two marks up as well. So that's most of the horizontal lines for now. So let's deal with this section first of all. So it's 75 up to this line. So 75 from the bottom right hand corner. T-square that line up. Now we're going to have a hole here, so I'm going to center punch that point and this point here, which are on the 14 lines. And we also have a bend line here, 15 in, and 38 in. We have these other two holes. So 15 from the right hand side, and I'm going to measure 38 in as well. That's 10, 20, 38. I'm going to T-square those up. I'm going to dash the bend line. Onto a solid 38 line. Now we're told here that the distance between these two holes is 40, so therefore from the center line it must be 20 up and down. So if I put 100 on the center line, that's 120 to the right and 80 to the left. I'm going to punch both of those. I'm going to drill holes there. I'm just going to shade in the two areas here because we'll be cutting those off later on and it makes them stand out a little bit. So that's the back section done. So now it's the next section. We're told here it's 60 wide. So I'm going to measure from my 75 line over 60. T-square that line straight up. Now let's see what we need to worry about in here. So these two holes are 6 millimeters from the edge, and these two holes are 6 millimeters from the edge, and this one on the center line is 30 plus 6 from this line. So on the center line we can measure across 36 quite easily. Mark that and punch it straight away. And then for these other 6 holes, because there's 2 here, we're going to measure 6 in from this corner and 6 in from this corner, and then T-square the lines up. So let's figure out where these holes go. It's actually quite involved when you look at this drawing. So we have this line here and we're told that it's 10 to this line for these 3 holes, and then 17 back down. And that's the same as 25 from this line to the centre line. We're also told it's 25 from the centre line up to this hole and then another 17. So we're going to use that. We're going to measure out 25 and then 17 from the centre line in both directions. I'm going to start on the centre line with 50. If I go 25 down, that gives me 25. And if I go 25 up, I'm at 75. And from there we need to go 17 millimeters each direction as well. So that's 10, there's 17, that's 10, and then another 7. There we go. So we now have those 4 holes which we can punch before we lose them. And you can either T-square these lines and transfer them over, or you could calculate the distance there, which is 25 plus 17 or 42, and measure that out as well, which I'm going to do. And again, we punch those and we have that middle section done. Okay, so on to the next section here. We're told down here it's 44 across from the 60 line. So I'm lining up 44 on my ruler here. I mark the end of the ruler, I'm 44 away. T-square that up. And that coincidentally gives us this point here, which is the centre of this curve. We might as well do that now. So I'm going to punch there. Set my dividers to 35 millimeters. So I'm starting at 10, which means I have to go to 45. And I can draw that semicircle. Okay, so let's look at these 2 holes here first of all. They're on the same line as this one, so we can T-square that point across first of all. Will my T-square reach from this side? Looks like it will. Maybe not. I know this piece is square, so I can T-square it from the other side. And then the distance from the 60 line to the first hole is 12, and then to the next one is 20, which is a total of 32 from here. So I'm going to, I'll do it upside down this time. So there's my 60 line. So I need to go 12 from that, and another 20, which is 32. I'm going to punch those. And we're nearly there. The centre line for these 2 is 36 up from the centre line for these, and they're on the same vertical line. So I want to measure over 36. I'm going to T-square this point to the left. And then transfer the 2 punch marks straight up. And then punch those. We are then told that from these 2 it's 10 millimeters up to this line, and at each end of the line we have a punch mark for a hole as well. So 10 more millimeters up. So you square that across. And we're going to punch here and here. And that's it, we have the part marked out. Just going to shade in some of the areas to give us a better idea of our final shape. So that's it marked out. It's quite tricky, it's not easy, but it's very doable if you take it in sections. So now we have to go drilling holes, and we have a lot of holes to drill. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 holes to drill, if I counted correctly. They are all 3.5. The drawing tells you, might be difficult to read here, but undimensioned holes stand for 3.5, and that is all of them. So I'm going to go drill those now, and then I'm going to use a bandsaw. You'll have to use a hacksaw or snips to cut out the different sections, file it down, and then I'll transfer these 3 lines, bend lines, onto the other side, and then we'll bend it. want to transfer these 3 lines over to the back side of the piece. So I'm just going to use a T-square, and I'm going to line up the T-square on the back of the piece with the hole that I want to, or sorry, the line that I want to T-square. I'm making sure that the piece is up against the handle here, and I'm going to flip that around, keeping contact the whole time here, and I can double check any time I want that it's still lining up. And I'm just going to draw the line here. Going to do the same on the other side. Line it up as carefully as possible, flip it over, make sure the piece is still up against the handle, and draw in the line. So I have those 2 lines here. This line, can I do it the same way? I can, although it's not as good because the T-square wants to tilt when I'm lined up there. So I'm just going to, I know this is from the drawing, this is 15 millimeters down. So I'm just going to mark 15 on both sides. I think it'll be more accurate. And just draw a line in between the 2 little dots that I put there. So now I can go bend the piece. So I'm going to set up for these 3 first, and I'm going to bend them with this side up, and I have to set up for 90 degrees. Alright, so I'm going to bend these 2 sections first. And now the end section here. So that's those 3 bent this direction. Now I want to set up for 30 degrees and bend this forward like that. And there we go. There's our piece bent. That's the piece finished. All that needs to be done is it needs to be cleaned now and spray painted, whatever colour I decide to do it later on. A little bit of emery paperwork as well. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next video for part 2.